Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving right into a massive, fundamental challenge in global education today, breaking past the bottleneck of individual instruction. Look, millions of children globally are missing out on foundational reading skills. And honestly, the math simply does not work when we rely strictly on a one-to-one teaching model. So today, we're figuring out how to take incredibly effective, data-driven reading interventions out of an isolated classroom and put them directly into the hands of the wider community. We're talking about building a truly scalable network of literacy leaders.
This quote right here really hits the nail on the head. It highlights an urgent need for a mindset shift. As educators, intervention specialists, or school leaders, we naturally want to be on the front lines. It is literally in our DNA to want to teach every single child directly. But the harsh reality of global literacy, especially when we're talking about low-resource environments, is that you just can't scale if you're the only teacher. You absolutely have to cascade your expertise. It's about shifting from being that solo expert hoarding all the knowledge to becoming a systemic leader who shares it.
Think about the solo expert for a second. Even if you are an absolute wizard at structured literacy, your impact is trapped in whatever room you happen to be standing in. And let's be real, carrying the weight of an entire district's literacy rates on your own shoulders, that is a one-way ticket to severe burnout. Contrast that with an empowered community. It's highly scalable, it delivers massive systemic impact, and it creates reading cycles that actually sustain themselves. It's the vital difference between trying to heroically fix a district all by yourself and equipping a whole community to carry the torch.
So here's our quick roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start with the limits of one teacher, move into the train-the-trainer solution, look at simplifying structured literacy modules, equipping community leaders, and finally, sustaining that cascade of expertise. All right, Section 1, the limits of one teacher. Let's confront a pretty hard truth about data-driven interventions. While excellent data-driven instruction is absolutely essential, it literally cannot fix an entire district if the whole thing relies on a single person. For instance, tools like the 15-minute diagnostic reading audit are brilliant. They're a surgical way to track phonetic gaps and boost outcomes rapidly. But think about the basic physics here. No matter how fast or brilliant your individual audit is, you cannot physically be in 30 different classrooms or 20 community hubs at the exact same time. If you're operating totally alone, you inadvertently become the bottleneck to progress.
Moving into Section 2, the train-the-trainer solution. This is where we see a massive paradigm shift. This is the core methodology, and honestly, it's so exciting. We're stepping back from solely teaching students directly. Instead, we're pouring our energy into developing simplified, highly effective training modules. The goal? To equip non-experts. We're talking parents, local volunteers, NGO managers with the exact same data-driven structured literacy skills that an expert educator has. It's a literal transfer of power. You're pulling the science of reading out of the academic ivory tower and putting it right into the hands of the local community.
By shifting to this model, we're moving from a one-to-one grind to a massive one-to-many ripple effect. Just imagine a single reading specialist in a rural district. Working directly, they might help 20 kids. But if they train 10 local facilitators, and those 10 each reach 20 students, that single specialist has now indirectly transformed 200 lives. The expertise cascades downwards and outwards, multiplying your impact exponentially.
Okay, Section 3, simplifying structured literacy modules. How do we do this without watering down the science?
That's always the big fear, right? That we'll lose the rigor when we hand things over to non-teachers. Well, to prevent that, we stick to a strict 3-step blueprint. Step 1, simplify your baseline assessments. Make data collection so straightforward that anyone can do it accurately. Step 2, map out explicit sound spelling rules so volunteers aren't just guessing. And Step 3, package all of it into actionable community teaching blocks. You're essentially taking highly complex phonetic instruction and breaking it down into incredibly digestible, practical chunks.
And what this creates is an amazing, comprehensive toolkit that you can hand straight over to a community leader. You give them the 15-minute reading audit checklist so they can spot learning gaps without needing a master's degree in ed. You hand them basic phonological awareness guides and clear sound spelling charts. That part is absolutely crucial because it stops kids from just randomly guessing words from pictures and actually gives volunteers the tools to teach real phonics. Toss in some diverse ability grouping techniques and boom, they know exactly how to manage different types of learners in one room. It's a totally actionable, ready-to-go toolkit.
Which brings us to Section 4, equipping your community leaders. We know what to teach, but who exactly is delivering it?
These folks are the absolute backbone of highly scalable models. Take the Story Bridges framework, for example. It's this incredible program that trains marginalized local youth and mothers to run foundational literacy camps right in their own neighborhoods. When you target parents, community volunteers, and local NGO managers in low-resource environments, you're doing something revolutionary. You're turning everyday local spaces, like a community center or literally someone's living room, into a vibrant literacy hub. You're embedding the solution deeply into the existing fabric of the community. But here is the real secret sauce. Translation. We have to translate high-level academic pedagogy into accessible, culturally inclusive community action. Look, if you tell a volunteer to perform a diagnostic literacy audit, they're probably going to freeze up. But ask them to do a 15-minute reading check? Oh yeah, they can do that. Instead of using intimidating cognitive terms like orthographic mapping, just teach the physical action, connecting sounds to letters. A systematic scope just becomes a step-by-step phonics path. To really cascade your expertise, you have to speak a language that empowers people rather than alienating them.
Finally, let's hit Section 5, sustaining the expertise cascade, because we want this to last, right? Long-term sustainability needs a really clear, structured timeline to keep quality control tight across all these remote locations. Month 1 is all about establishing those baseline assessments because, hey, you can't fix a deficit if you haven't measured it. Month 2 is dedicated entirely to equipping your volunteers with those simplified toolkits. Month 3, you officially launch the reading cycles with the kids. And month 4, that's where the magic happens for leadership. You analyze the new data gaps to actually prove the program works. That tangible data is exactly how you secure the ongoing funding to scale the whole operation even further. And when you systematically cascade your expertise like this, the scale of your impact just explodes. Let's look at the math again. You start with one solo classroom, restricted by the hours in a day. Even if you push yourself to the absolute brink, maybe you influence 5 classrooms by running back and forth. But when you switch to training the trainer, you can suddenly reach 20 community hubs, 50 hubs. You're scaling your educational impact exponentially across a whole district, proving for a fact that rigorous, structured literacy absolutely can be community-led. So this brings us to the ultimate shift in mindset. As a leader in education, your greatest value is no longer just being the hero teacher who works tirelessly to save one single classroom. Your ultimate value is becoming the scalable hero maker. By distilling the complex science of reading into these highly accessible toolkits, you're empowering hundreds of everyday people to deliver life-changing interventions to thousands of kids. I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought as we wrap up today's explainer. Take a really close look around your own environment. Think about the vast, totally untapped potential sitting right there in your parent groups, your local organizations, your community hubs. Who are you going to equip to lead the next reading cycle? The tools are right there, the data backs it up, and your community is eagerly waiting to help. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I really hope this empowers you to start building your own community-driven literacy movement.